Welcome to today's training. I am delighted to talk about stress and EBV. The topic of our training today is, can stress cause EBV? And the answer is yes. There goes the training. That's all you need to do. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, it is, in fact, the biggest trigger of EBV reactivation. We're going to talk all about that today. Welcome to this training. I'm super excited to talk about that because, some of things we're going to discuss in terms of stress may surprise you. Hopefully you learned something. So welcome. My name is Kasia Kainz. I'm a doctor of clinical nutrition and CEO and founder of EBV Global Institute, when we help people just like you get over EBV and live a fabulous life. So let's talk about stress. We're going to discuss 6 ways in which stress can bring on EBV. And then after that, I'm also going to share 10 types of stress. And hopefully some of it will be new to you because we don't appreciate how many tentacles stress has on us. I'm going to start with a story of NASA. And I encourage you to share that story with your doctor if they are doubting that stress is the reason why you are so sick. So there was a study that astronauts in space have a higher likelihood of reactivating EBV. So I don't want you to feel bad because these are the cream of the cream, the most amazing, most trained experts, are astronauts. So if they can reactivate, you're in good company. You should not feel bad that you are sick because anybody can get sick. And so with that study, I was at a nutrition conference and there was a scientist and a geneticist, and they were discussing a study done on astronauts in space. There was a twin study. One twin was in space 1 year and one was on Earth. And so they looked at DNA changes. They looked at all kinds of health implications tests. And so I was really excited because I knew about that study. And so during the break, I talked to one of them and said, look, I know there's medical literature that astronauts have a lot higher likelihood of reactivating EBV. Are you aware of it? And he looks at me like, sure. Yeah, of course we know it. Guess what? NASA has a system in place, he told me, where the astronauts have prophylactic medications for EBV. And just to, who knew, right? Nobody knows about that. And then another thing that I want to share with you is there is a great sci-fi series, I believe on Netflix, called Away. And interestingly, they are in space going to Mars, and one of the crew members develops EBV reactivation. It's severe. It goes into his brain, so he's hallucinating. He's almost dead. And so it's a viral encephalitis, pretty much. So EBV is in his brain, and so he's almost comatose. And the captain of the ship brings IV and has just the right tools to bring him to life. So just saying that EBV is starting to come in, just the education is starting to come even in movies. And so please know that this is a real thing. It's not in your head. So that's the story, and I stick with it. You can share that, please. So now, isn't that interesting? Let's talk about the 6 ways in which stress can bring EBV. So, number 1, stress depletes key nutrients. You urinate them out, you ooze them out, you sweat them out, you just lose them. Calcium, magnesium, zinc, boron, chromium, potassium, selenium, the list goes on. You basically, it's just what happens when you're under stress. And we know from medical research, and I can vouch for it too in my practice, that when your nutritional status drops, your EBV becomes more virulent, which means more aggressive. So it's more reactivation. We have some studies in particular on selenium and vitamin E. We don't have studies on all of the nutrients, but you can imagine if we have more studies, they will kind of confirm this direction. It makes sense. The second reason, the second way how a stress can bring on your EBV is decreased nutrient absorption. So when you are experiencing stress, physiologically, we're just like animals. So the body diverts functions for survival. It's not interested in digestion, absorption of nutrients. No, it's interested in running for your life or fighting for your life, basically. So yeah, so there's just not enough oxygen going in. Gastrointestinal flow is slower. Your pancreas is not producing enzymes to break down your food, so the nutrients can be absorbed. The stomach can be sitting, the pancreas can be sitting, the liver can be sitting, gallbladder is not secreting bile. This is not time to eat or to procreate. This is a time to run or fight. And so unfortunately, we are wired like animals. So we are wired for the 15-minute sprint, just like zebras, and then we spend. So we need to repose. Except humans have propensity towards chronic stress, chronic rumination, chronic worries, chronic stress from life, because life in human life right now is very complicated, isn't it? So in fact, I can pretty much guarantee that any of you listening today, watching this, will remember specific stressors that tipped the scale over when you reactivated last time, or your biggest reactivation that was probably induced by stress, right? Okay, the third reason why you can bring on EBV in stress is shallow breathing. You need oxygen. You need to oxygenate your cells. When we breathe in stress, we have shallow breathing. We don't breathe deeply. And so your metabolism will be impacted. All the cells will be impacted. The delivery of nutrients will be impacted. And again, when your nutrient status is not robust, your EBV is building up and reactivating. The fourth the fourth way in which stress can induce your reactivation of EBV is stress eating. Stress eating, when we are under stress, we are prone to seeking sugar or crunchy fats, chips, cakes, cookies, things that will provide this instant little boost of serotonin, maybe. What we know for sure 100% in studies is that sugar, simple sugar, not the sugar in foods, not the sugar in complex foods, the simple sugar in desserts, for example, white table sugar, suppress the immune system. And the immune system is the number one tool we have to help us prevent reactivation of EBV. When your immune system works well, the EBV is kind of under the current. And this is why, even though 95% of the global population on this planet carry the virus, not all of them reactivate and have any problem with the virus. That's because their immune system does what it needs to do. So stress eating is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. The fifth reason, the fifth way in which stress can reactivate your EBV is during stress, you may be prone towards fast food meals just because it's easy. It also is addictive, so you get a little instant, oomph. So it is addictive. It is addictive. But what I want you to know is there is this reactive inflammatory protein called NF-kappa B. And this is what the virus likes to hijack to replicate itself. The more the body creates of NF-kappa B, the more opportunities the virus has to replicate itself and to grow. And there was a study on just one fast food meal, breakfast meal in that study in particular. And it increased the NF-kappa B by 150% for the duration of 2 or 2.5 hours. So, yep, stress eating, sugar eating, fast food eating, not a good idea. And the last and the biggest factor is Stress means that you're making stress hormones. You will make cortisol, you will make adrenaline. Now, cortisol also is a stress hormone, but it's also that also suppresses the immune system. And so the more of that you have, the less of working immune system you have, similarly to what I said above. And so we know from studies that stress reactivates EBV. It's like a feeding ground. So just be cognizant of it. All right. So, yeah. So most people in our EBV community have chronic stress from EBV because when you are so sick, so down on your back, and you're not getting the right support, you are in it for a long time and you're really sick. So it is very stressful on many levels. It's physiological stressful on the body because it's sick, it's fighting the virus, but it's also mentally and emotionally stressful because you don't know what you're going to do and you don't have the tools, you're in it on your own. Extremely stressful, right? So it's like a perpetuating revolving door, unfortunately. So it's magnifying that EBV, unfortunately. So you do need to work on stress response, the breathing, doing whatever you can do to kind of have a little bit more relaxation and tools to cut off that constant stress response. Okay, let's talk about what kind of stress you're dealing with. And I listed 10 for myself. There's many more. But let's talk about those that are well studied, at least most of them. So number one, any perceived stress in general will reactivate EBV. Number two, hormonal changes. We talked about the stress hormones, but any hormones. So the prime times for big surges of new hormones and changes in hormones are puberty, perimenopause, menopause, and postpartum. So let's say for postpartum, when a woman experiences a surge of depression, that may actually be Hashimoto's related. And Hashimoto's is an autoimmune thyroiditis. So it's related to thyroid, but if you really look at the cause of that, it probably is triggered by EBV. That was triggered by the huge shift in probably the biggest and the fastest, the most profound shift in hormones in woman's life, the postpartum. So hormonal changes, yes, are big. Studies on exams. Exams, of course, are stressful, and we have studies showing that exams can reactivate EBV. And well, lo and behold, college students are prone to mono, which would be the more acute version of EBV. But sometimes it's also chronic, goes chronic. It's rampant in college population. And why? You have a combination of things. You have the stress, you have deadlines, but they also don't eat well. The cafeteria food is notoriously poor nutritionally, and students don't sleep enough. So I think you have a combination of things that really drop the nutrient status of a student. And stress additionally, like we discussed, depletes nutrients, whatever nutrients they get. They deplete them because they don't sleep enough. So that's a physiological stress. You have a triple whammy there. So yeah. Number four, loneliness. There's studies on loneliness that is stressful on different levels. So people that are lonely experience that, have a higher likelihood of reactivation of EBV. Number five, being in space. We discussed that. We started with a story. Absolutely. There's studies behind it. Number six, oxidative stress, so free radical damage. That kind of is the compounding effect because EBV also creates oxidative stress. So oxidative stress in your life, you may experience it when you have like aggressive form of exercise, like running, jogging, weightlifting, that can trigger EBV reactivation just because It's more oxidative stress from exercise on top of oxidative stress from EBV. Number 7, other infections. So SIBO infection, H. pylori infection, very common. Basically, there's a concept in medical literature called transactivation in terms of EBV. So you can have a different infection, gut infection, like I mentioned, and you can reactivate EBV because of that. And you can also have EBV infection and activate a different infection unrelated as a result of it. So you are compromised already. So they go both ways. What else? What other kinds of stressors? Number 8, very important, medications, in particular corticosteroid medications. So immune system suppressing medications. If you have ever had those and they actually worked for you, there may be a honeymoon period when you do feel better, but eventually it's going to backfire if you have chronic EBV. And oftentimes people will tell me that their EBV really skyrocketed when they got on corticosteroid medications. And the phrase I will hear often is, I felt like I was hit by a Mack truck. Number 9, big one. This is a big stressor, environmental stress, so environmental exposure. And this is a topic that I could talk about for hours. I'm going to give you a couple of categories to focus on. Number 1, heavy metals. In particular, I would say arsenic and mercury. This is where we have more exposure, I would say. And aluminum, maybe, depending. That needs to be cleaned. Dioxins is huge. So dioxins, again, big topic, but I'll tell you where dioxins are. They are in fireworks. So if you have chronic EBV, you don't want to sit outside and inhale fireworks. You want to watch it on TV. If your neighbors are doing fireworks, let's say for July the 4th in the States, you don't want to be outside. You want to have an air filter inside. Dioxins are anything burning. So wild forest burning, fire pit burning. If you sit by a fire pit, you want to sit away from the wind so the wind blows the smoke away. Grilling. So summer is harder because there's more smoke from burning wood or burning forest. So in that case, the dioxins from fireworks, by the way, there was a study. The chemicals linger in the air for another few weeks. So it's not just a matter of that particular moment when you have fireworks in the air. And so in summer, some people that have been managing EBV pretty well then really spiral into anxiety, depression, and fear because out of the blue they get sick again and they don't understand why. They've been doing everything well. They've been kind of managing things. And out of the blue they get sick. It's probably the wild forest burnings. It's probably the smoke and the dioxin. So we always alert our community every summer just to be cognizant. And I can't tell you enough how people say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It makes sense. Now I can breathe. I understand what I'm dealing with. And then, you just need an air filter. You need to manage it. Just be aware of it. Another trigger in environmental class is toxic mold, water damage. And now, statistically, 51% of commercial and residential buildings have water damage. I can't stress enough, people with chronic EBV oftentimes have mold as one of the underlying causes of EBV. So sometimes EBV is the result of that water damage and the mold. And I would say in our community, okay, so maybe up to 60%, 50% in our community have that issue. And when they come into our community, I would say at least 50% of that population did not know they had water damage. It's only through working together with us that they find it out. pursue it, remediate it, and so on and so forth. So it's a big issue. Like I said, if there is toxic mold exposure, you may not be aware of it. It's like the EBV will be uphill battle. You have to target the molds. That's the triggering point because it's very stressful on physiological, physical levels on the body to deal with mold. And the mold is insidious, so unless you remediate it, it continues carving into your immune system, into your hormone, and so on. And the last piece in the environmental stress is Wi-Fi exposure. And I'm going to stress it too. Wi-Fi exposure is the easiest thing to tackle. You can always decrease your exposure. You can put your router in a Faraday bag or Faraday box. You can put a smart meter guard on your smart meter or have it removed. You can turn off your phone. You can manage things, have a hygiene, understand that thy Wi-Fi is very powerful right now and it can affect you on a cellular level. And that really compromises you to the point where EBV really is triggered by it. I'm not sure if Wi-Fi irritates the virus or if Wi-Fi feeds the virus, but that's what it is. And if you have Wi-Fi in your home and mold from water damage, then between this Wi-Fi and EBV, you have a triple whammy. This is really more common than not. And so you have three things that you have to deal with. And so I would do the first thing is Wi-Fi, clean it up, turn it down. You can get Kill Switch on techwellness.com and plug it in the wall and with a remote control, turn off the Wi-Fi for the night, at least that. And put the router in a Faraday box or bag because the routers are extremely powerful. If you have a measuring device, it's when I saw the numbers on mine, I was terrified of how much exposure we're getting. All right, last but not least, and this may be surprising, but this is my favorite topic and I teach our community all the time. So the last item, number 10, what can reactivate EBV? Accumulation of changes. If you have a companion animal in your home, you probably are very aware of the saying, animals don't like changes. They really like routine, right? But so do you. So do you. We do like routine. And so people don't realize that stacking changes up in a short period of time is extremely stressful. And I'm not only talking about the negative changes, I'm talking about changes, including the positive ones. So I want you to be honest, sit down, take a pen and sheet of paper and list all the changes in your life during the last 2 years. There's an exercise we have in a program for this, and just list it. Getting divorced, getting married, your kid getting married, traveling abroad, changing your job, losing your job, changing career, going to school, graduating, taking final exams, getting married, getting divorced. Did I mention that already? Buying a house, selling a house, publishing a book, being promoted. What I find in our community is that when they tell me all the things that have happened in their lives that were, changes in the life in a particular period of time, I get out of breath. It's a lot. Our lives are complicated. So just be cognizant. Can you simplify your life? Can you slow down? Can you delegate some things? Can you take the edge off? Because even too much of a good change, too many of them in a short period of time can reactivate EBV. I remember one of my patients, they decided to elope and get married with her fiance. And so there were a lot of changes in like 6 months they did. And of course, she reactivated EBV and also developed autoimmune hepatitis as a result. It's all good. We took care of all of that. She's living her life and everything is fine. But that's a common trajectory in our community. Too much, too many things on your plate, too many changes. So just give yourself grace, everyone. So here we go. We're competing with astronauts. So I hope this particular training will make a big difference in your life, like restructuring your thought process and like really helping you nourish yourself better, slow down, breathe, provide nourishment, and delegate. Okay, I'll see you on the next training. And if you love this, please subscribe so we can help more people and bring more hope to others.